I went there for a vacation. Just 2 weeks. That's all it was supposed to be. 30 years of driving 18-wheelers across America, and I'd finally retired with enough saved up to see the world. Thailand seemed like the perfect place to start fresh. Warm beaches, cheap drinks, and nobody who knew my name or my failures. I landed in Bangkok on a Tuesday night in March, took a bus to Pattaya, and checked into a modest hotel near Walking Street. The humid air hit me like a wall, but it felt good. Different. Like maybe I could be different too. "You first time Thailand?" the taxi driver asked me as we pulled up to the hotel. "Yes," I told him. "First time anywhere, really." He smiled in his rearview mirror. "You like Thailand? Good for you." I didn't know what he meant then. I thought he was just being polite. The first few days I kept to myself. Ate at tourist restaurants, walked the beach, sat by the pool with a beer and a paperback. But by Thursday night, loneliness crept in. I'd been alone for 3 years since my divorce, and even paradise felt empty when you had nobody to share it with. I wasn't planning to share this story tonight, but a few days ago, I received an email from a longtime viewer of the channel. He told me he'd been following quietly for months, watching every video, never saying much until he finally felt ready to tell his own story. When I read his words, I felt something shift in me. At first, it was surprise, that strange jolt when you realize someone else has walked the same lonely road you thought only you had traveled. Then came sorrow, heavy and familiar, because I could feel his pain in every line. And finally there was gratitude. Gratitude that he trusted me enough to share his truth, and gratitude that maybe these late-night confessions can help someone else feel less alone. That's why I'm here tonight. And before I continue, I want to say thank you. To you, watching this right now, please leave me a comment and let me know where you're tuning in from. I read every single one, and for those of you who keep coming back, story after story, this is my super thank you to you. You're the reason I can keep going. Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and join the conversation. Because tonight, I need to tell you everything. Let me take you back to where it all started. That's when I decided to check out Walking Street. I told myself I was just curious, just wanted to see what all the fuss was about. The neon lights, the music, the energy. It was overwhelming at first. Girls everywhere, calling out to tourists, trying to pull them into bars. I walked past most of them, feeling awkward and out of place. Then I saw her. She was sitting at a corner table in an open-air bar, not bothering anyone, just sipping a drink and watching the crowd. She had this calm about her that stood out from all the chaos. When our eyes met, she smiled. Not the aggressive sales pitch smile I'd seen from the others. Just a real, warm smile. I walked over. "Mind if I sit?" I asked. "Of course," she said, gesturing to the chair across from her. Her English was better than I expected. "I am Ketuda. And you?" "Ned," I said, settling in. "Ned from Oregon." "Oregon," she repeated, like she was tasting the word. "Very far from here." "Very far," I agreed. We talked for hours. She asked me about truck driving, about America, about why I came to Thailand. I asked her about her life, her family. She told me she was from a small village up north, came to Pattaya to make money for her mother's medical bills. "It's not easy life," she said, looking down at her hands. "But I do what I must." There was something about her that felt genuine. She wasn't pushy, wasn't asking for drinks or money. She just seemed to enjoy talking to me. "You have kind eyes," she said at one point, reaching across to touch my arm. The way she said it, the way she looked at me when she said it, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Like maybe I mattered to someone. When the bar started to close, she asked quietly, "You want me come with you tonight?" I should have said no. Should have known better. But I was 58 years old, divorced, lonely, and a beautiful 26-year-old woman was offering to spend the night with me. "Yes," I said. "I'd like that." Back at my hotel, she was different than I expected. Gentle, attentive. We talked more than anything else. She curled up against me afterward and said, "You different from other men who come here." "How so?" I asked. "You listen. You see me as person, not just, you know." I wanted to believe her. God help me, I wanted to believe every word. When I woke up the next morning, she was still there, making coffee in the little kitchenette. "Good morning, handsome," she said, bringing me a cup. Most of the girls would have left by then, I figured. But she stayed. We had breakfast together on the balcony, watching the city wake up below us. "What are you doing today?" I asked. "I don't know," she said. "What you want to do?" That should have been another warning sign. But instead I felt flattered. Like she genuinely wanted to spend time with me. "Whatever you want," I said. "I'm on vacation. No plans." She smiled. "Then we make good day together." We spent the whole day exploring Pattaya. She showed me local places tourists don't usually see. Little food stalls, quiet temples, a beach away from all the crowds. She held my hand as we walked. Introduced me to vendors as her friend from America. I paid for everything, of course, but it felt natural. Like what you do when you're with someone you care about. That night, she came back to my room again. And the night after that. By the end of the first week, we had a routine. She'd meet me for breakfast. We'd spend the day together, have dinner, then go back to my place. She started leaving things there. A toothbrush, some clothes. Little by little, she was moving into my temporary life. "I not usually do this," she told me one evening as we sat on the beach. "Do what?" "Stay with one man so long. Usually I work different every night, but with you, I don't want to." "Why?" I asked, though I was afraid of the answer. "Because you treat me good. You make me feel safe." She looked out at the ocean. "Other men, they see bar girl. They see thing to use. You see Ketuda." I put my arm around her. "Of course I see you," I said. "You're beautiful, you're smart, you're kind." She leaned against me. "Maybe I stop working bar while you here," she said quietly. "Just be with you." My heart jumped. "You do that?" "If you want," she said. "If you take care of me a little bit." I didn't hesitate. "Of course, whatever you need." The next day, I gave her $2,000 to cover what she'd normally make at the bar. It seemed fair. More than fair, actually. She cried when I handed her the cash. "Nobody ever been so good to me," she said. "I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything," I told her. "Just be happy." And she was. For the next few days, she was the happiest I'd ever seen anyone. She'd wake up singing, dance around the room while getting dressed, kiss me for no reason other than she felt like it. But the 2 weeks were almost up. I had a flight home in 3 days, and I wasn't ready to leave. Not ready to leave her. "I was thinking," I said over dinner at a beachside restaurant. "What if I extended my trip? Another week or 2? Her face lit up. "Really? You do that?" "I could," I said, "if you want me to." "Of course I want," she said, reaching across to squeeze my hand. "I thought when you leave, maybe I never see you again." "Maybe you won't have to worry about that," I said, surprising myself with the words. "Maybe I'll figure out a way to stay longer. Or come back soon." That night, I called my buddy Jim back in Portland. "How's paradise treating you?" he asked. "Better than I expected," I said. "Actually, I was thinking about extending my stay." "Oh yeah? Why's that?" I told him about Ketuda. About how different she was, how real our connection felt. There was a long pause on the other end. "Ned," Jim finally said, "you sure you know what you're getting into over there?" "What do you mean?" "I mean those girls are professionals, buddy. They're good at making you feel special. It's their job." "It's not like that," I said, getting defensive. "You don't know her. She's not like the others." "Maybe not," Jim said. "But just be careful, all right? Don't go doing anything stupid." After I hung up, I felt angry. Jim didn't understand. He hadn't seen how Ketuda looked at me, hadn't heard the things she said when we were alone. He was judging her based on stereotypes, and that wasn't fair. When I told Ketuda I'd extended my trip another week, she threw her arms around me. "I'm so happy," she said. "Now we have more time." The next morning, she brought up something that had been on her mind. "Ned," she said as we had coffee on the balcony, "I've been thinking about future." "What about it?" She looked nervous, like she wasn't sure how to say what she wanted to say. "What happened when you go back, America? We keep in touch? Or this just vacation for you?" The question caught me off guard. I'd been thinking the same thing but hadn't figured out how to bring it up. "I don't want this to be just a vacation," I said. "Do you?" "No," she said quickly. I want us be together. Real together." "What would that look like?" I asked. She bit her lip. "Maybe you come back soon. Or maybe you live here. I take care of you good. Thailand cheap to live. Your money go very far. The idea was crazy. I'd only known her for a week and a half. But sitting there with her, watching the sun come up over the ocean, it didn't feel crazy. It felt like the first real possibility I'd had for happiness in years. I could think about it, I said. Yeah? Yeah. Maybe we could look at places. Just to see what's out there. So we did. That afternoon, we looked at condos. Nothing serious, I told myself. Just getting a feel for the market. But when we walked into a 2-bedroom place with an ocean view, Ketuda gasped. "Ned, this beautiful," she said, walking out onto the balcony. "We could be so happy here." The way she said, "we," sent a thrill through me. I could picture it. Waking up every morning with her beside me, having coffee on that balcony, maybe even helping her start the small business she'd mentioned wanting to open. "How much?" I asked the agent. $30,000 US for a year lease, he said. Very good price for location. It was more than I'd ever spent on rent in my life, but with my retirement savings and the money from selling my house after the divorce, I could afford it. "What do you think?" I asked Ketuda. I think could be dream come true," she said. "But big decision." "You sure you want old bar girl like me?" "You're not a bar girl anymore," I said. "Not if you don't want to be." That night, lying in bed, she told me more about her dreams. She wanted to open a small cafe near the beach. Nothing fancy, just good food and coffee for locals and tourists. "I saved money for 2 years," she said. "But not enough yet. Need maybe 50,000 more baht." "How much is that in dollars?" I asked. "About 1,500, she said. "Long time to save when you just making little bit each week." I did some quick math in my head. $1,500 was nothing to me. A couple months of truck payments back when I was working. "What if I helped?" I said. "What?" "With the cafe. What if I invested in it? We could be partners." She turned to look at me in the dark. "You serious?" "Dead serious," I said. "I believe in you, and I believe in us." She was quiet for a long moment. "Nobody ever believed in me before," she said finally. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," I said. "Say we'll figure it out together." "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, we figure out together." The next day, I went to the bank and wired her $5,000. More than she needed for the cafe, but I wanted to make sure she had everything she required to get started. When I showed her the receipt, she cried. Actually cried. "Ned, this too much," she said. "I can't take this. It's not charity," I said. "It's an investment. In you. In us." She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "I love you," she said. It was the first time either of us had used that word. "I love you too," I said, and meant it. But even as things were getting more serious between us, I started noticing little things that bothered me. She was on her phone a lot more than when we first met. Quick conversations in Thai that she'd end as soon as I walked into the room. When I asked who she was talking to, she'd say family or friends, but something in her voice seemed off. One afternoon, I was waiting for her at a coffee shop near our usual meeting spot when I saw her across the street. She was sitting with a man I'd never seen before, a Thai guy about her age. They were holding hands. My stomach dropped. I watched them for maybe 10 minutes before they separated. She kissed him goodbye. Not a friendly kiss. A romantic one. When she met me 20 minutes later, she was all smiles. "Sorry, a little bit late," she said. "Had to help friend with something." "What kind of help?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "Just girl problem," she said. "Nothing important." But I could see she was nervous. Her hands were shaking slightly when she picked up her coffee cup. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what I'd seen. Was I imagining things? Was there an innocent explanation? When I finally got up the nerve to ask her about it, she got defensive immediately. "Why you spy on me?" she said. "I not spy. I was waiting for you and I saw you with someone." "He just friend from long time," she said. "We grow up together in same village." "Friends don't usually kiss like that," I said. Her face hardened. "You not trust me?" "I want to trust you," I said. "But what you saw is nothing," she said firmly. "He having problems with girlfriend. I try help him, that all." She looked hurt, like I'd accused her of something terrible. I thought you different, Ned. I thought you understand me. I am different, I said, backing down. I'm sorry. I care about you so much, and the thought of losing you. You not lose me, she said, softening. I here with you. I not going anywhere. She took my hands in hers. But you have to trust me. If no trust, then what we have. She was right. Without trust we had nothing. And I wanted what we had to be real so badly that I pushed my doubts aside. The next day she suggested we should make things official. What do you mean? I asked. I mean, if you serious about moving here, about us being together, maybe we should. How you say? Promise to each other. Like an engagement? Something like that, she said. Thai ceremony. Very beautiful, very meaningful. The idea terrified and excited me in equal measure. I'd only known her for 2.5 weeks, but wasn't that how it worked sometimes? When you knew, you knew? When would we do this? I asked. When you come back, she said. After you go home, settle your business, then come back for good. We have ceremony then. It sounded reasonable. It would give me time to think, to plan, to make sure this was what I really wanted. But I was running out of time. My extended stay was almost over. I had 3 days left before my flight home, and suddenly 3 days felt like no time at all. How could I leave her? How could I go back to my empty house in Portland and pretend none of this had happened? On my second to last night, she cooked dinner for me in my hotel room. Nothing fancy, just some local dishes she'd picked up from the market. But it felt more intimate than any expensive restaurant. I scared you leave and forget about me, she said as we ate. That's not going to happen, I said. How can you be sure? Because what we have is real, I said. I've never felt this way about anyone. Not even your wife? Especially not my wife, I said. What we had was comfortable, safe. But it wasn't love. Not like this. She smiled. I feel same way, she said. You first man who make me feel like woman, not just, you know. After dinner we lay in bed talking about the future. She was full of plans. The cafe, the life we'd build together, maybe even kids someday if I wanted them. You want children? She asked. I'd never thought I did. My ex-wife and I had tried for years without success, and eventually we'd both given up on the idea. But lying there with Ketuda, I could picture it, a little girl with her mother's smile, playing on the beach while we watched from our cafe. With you, yes, I said. I think I'd like that. Even though you 58? Age is just a number, I said. If you're happy, I'm happy. She curled up against me. I am happy, she said. First time in long time, I really happy. On my last morning, I woke up early and just watched her sleep. She looked so peaceful, so beautiful. I couldn't believe this woman had chosen me. Out of all the men who came through Pattaya, all the younger, richer, better-looking guys, she'd chosen me. When she woke up, she was immediately sad. Today the day, she said. Yeah, I said. Today's the day. I don't want you go. I don't want to go either, I said. But I'll be back. 2 months, maybe 3. Just long enough to sell my house, pack up my stuff, and figure out the visa situation. You promise? I promise, I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. At the airport, she cried. Real tears, not the fake kind I'd seen other girls put on for their customers. I held her close and told her everything would be okay. You text me every day? She asked. Every day, I said. And you text me back? Of course, she said. I miss you already. I miss you too, I said. But this isn't goodbye forever. It's just goodbye for now. The flight back to Portland was the longest 12 hours of my life. I kept replaying every moment we'd shared, every conversation, every kiss. By the time I landed, I was already planning my return. I'd put my house on the market immediately, sell off everything I didn't need, and be back in Thailand by June. Maybe sooner if I could swing it. For the first week, everything went according to plan. Ketuda and I texted constantly. Good morning messages, photos of what we were eating, little videos of her at the beach thinking of me. She sent me updates on the cafe location she was looking at, asked my opinion on different equipment she was considering. I felt like I was still part of her daily life, even from 8,000 miles away. But gradually, the messages started coming less frequently. At first, I didn't think much of it. She was busy getting the business started, I told myself. She had family obligations, friends to see. I was probably being too clingy anyway. Give her some space. But by the third week, I was only hearing from her every few days. And when she did respond, the messages were short, generic. "How was your day?" I'd ask. "Good," she'd reply. That was it. No details, no stories, no questions about how I was doing. When I called, she wouldn't answer. When I asked why in my next text, she said she was too busy to talk. Working on the cafe took all her time. I wanted to be understanding, but something felt wrong. This wasn't the same woman who used to text me 50 times a day. Then one day, she didn't respond at all. I sent 3 messages throughout the day, each one a little more desperate than the last. Still nothing. I told myself she was probably just having phone problems, or maybe she was traveling somewhere with bad service. But deep down, I knew something had changed. The next day, same thing. Radio silence. I was starting to panic. On the 3rd day of no contact, I decided to check her Facebook page. Maybe she'd posted something that would explain where she was. But when I tried to go to her profile, I got an error message. User not found. She'd either deactivated her account or blocked me. My heart was pounding as I tried to process what was happening. Why would she block me? What had I done wrong? I created a fake Facebook account and searched for her again. There she was. Her profile was still active, which meant she'd specifically blocked me. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was her profile picture. It was a photo of her and a man I didn't recognize. They were sitting at a beachside cafe, holding hands across the table. She was wearing the necklace I'd bought her in Pattaya. The one she said she'd never take off because it reminded her of me. I stared at that photo for probably an hour, trying to find some innocent explanation. Maybe it was an old photo. Maybe the guy was a relative. Maybe it meant nothing. But then I looked closer at the background. I recognized that cafe. It was one of the places we'd looked at for her business. The one she said was perfect but too expensive. Apparently it wasn't too expensive anymore. I tried calling the cafe directly. A man answered in Thai accented English. "Hello, Ketuda there?" I asked. "Who asking?" he said. "A friend from America," I said. "She not available," he said. "But you want leave message for her husband." The word hit me like a physical blow. Husband. "No," I managed to say. "No message." I hung up and just sat there, trying to breathe. Husband. She was married. Maybe she'd been married the whole time. Maybe everything she'd told me was a lie. The sick mother, the dreams of opening a cafe, the feelings she claimed to have for me. All of it, lies. I thought about all the money I'd given her. Not just the $5,000 for the business, but all the daily expenses, the shopping trips, the cash I'd left her when I flew home. How much had it been total? 10,000? 15? I'd stopped keeping track because it felt good to take care of her. I'd been played. Completely, thoroughly played by a professional who was probably laughing about it with her real boyfriend. The stupid American who fell for every sob story, who believed every sweet word. I felt sick. Actually physically sick. I ran to the bathroom and threw up until my stomach was empty. Then I sat on the bathroom floor and tried to figure out how I'd been so wrong about everything. Over the next few days, I replayed every moment of my time in Thailand, looking for clues I'd missed. They were everywhere, once I knew what to look for. The phone calls she'd end when I came around. The way she'd never introduce me to her friends. How she always had an excuse when I suggested meeting her family. The man I'd seen her with, that day on the street, probably her real boyfriend, maybe even her husband. I'd wanted so badly to believe I was special that I'd ignored every red flag. Jim had tried to warn me, but I'd been too proud to listen, too desperate to be loved to see what was right in front of me. I wasn't her first mark, and I wouldn't be her last. I was just another lonely farang with too much money and not enough sense. The house I'd been so eager to sell suddenly felt like the only real thing in my life. I took it off the market and canceled my plans to return to Thailand. What would be the point? To confront her? To demand my money back? She'd probably just deny everything. Maybe even call the police if I caused trouble. Or worse, She might try to string me along again, knowing how badly I wanted to believe her lies. I kept the plane ticket to Bangkok on my refrigerator for months. I'm not sure why. Maybe as a reminder of how stupid I'd been. Maybe as punishment for being so naive. Every time I opened the fridge for a beer, there it was. Ned Holbrook in black letters, with a departure date I'd never use. Eventually, I threw it away, but I could still picture it. The ticket to nowhere. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd been smarter. If I'd listened to Jim's warning or paid attention to the signs. Would I have had a lonely but peaceful vacation and come home with nothing worse than a sunburn? Or would she have found another way to get her hooks in me? I guess I'll never know. What I do know is that I went to Thailand looking for peace and came back with a scar I'll carry for the rest of my life. Not just the financial loss, though that hurt plenty, but the deeper wound of realizing how desperately I'd wanted to be loved that I'd let myself be used. How ready I was to believe that a beautiful young woman could fall for a tired old truck driver just because he treated her with basic human decency. I still think about her sometimes. Wonder if she ever thinks about me. Probably not, except maybe as a cautionary tale to tell other girls. Don't get too attached, she might say. Remember what happened with the American. But I doubt she thinks about me at all. I was just business. A means to an end. And now that the end was achieved, the cafe was open. She had her husband. Her real life could continue. There was no reason to remember the sad old man who helped pay for it all. I'm back in Oregon now, taking long walks through the same neighborhoods I've known for 30 years. The rain feels good on my face, and the mountains in the distance remind me that there's beauty in familiar things too. I don't hate Thailand or Thai people. I don't even hate Ketuda. Not really. She was just doing what she had to do to survive, and I made it easy for her. What I hate is how easy it was for me to fool myself. How ready I was to believe that love could happen that fast, that completely, that conveniently. I'm 58 years old. I should have known better. But maybe that's the thing about loneliness. It makes you vulnerable to possibilities that would seem ridiculous in the cold light of day. I doubt I'll ever go back to Thailand. Not because I'm afraid of running into Ketuda or because I blame the country for what happened, but because I know now that I wasn't really looking for a place. I was looking for a person, someone to share the years I have left, someone to make the quiet hours feel less empty. And you can't find that person by buying them. Real love isn't transactional, even when it's dressed up to look like romance. Maybe someday I'll try again, here at home, with someone my own age who has her own reasons for being alone. Someone who doesn't need my money or my rescue, just my company. But for now, I'm learning to be okay with solitude. It's honest, at least. It doesn't lie to you or make promises it can't keep. And after what happened in Thailand, I think I value honesty more than I value hope. The sun still rises every morning, and I still have coffee on my porch, watching the world wake up. It's not the ocean view I imagined sharing with Ketuda, but it's mine. Paid for with honest work, not borrowed dreams. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all it ever needed to be.